Hey, I'm here with Brian and Jared, and we're going to talk today about ADUs and their rare, but I think actual beneficial triplex millionaires with an ADU and a junior ADU and how they're making tons of money with this.
So let's start off with, you guys are agents, right? And so you get the agent stuff, sell houses and buy houses. But what's the real play for you guys?
Yes, we are agents. That's our primary business, but really that's the thing that feeds our opportunity to build wealth. And so the connections that we meet through that, give us opportunities to invest in rental property. And, ultimately that's the goal. So we know you through ADUs, right? And so we're super, super heavily invested in that space. And we were just chatting before this about how it's astounding to us that so many of our friends that are very successful agents in this business, in this space, like such a small percentage, if any, of their net worth is in investment property. And that's mind-boggling to us.
What would you say, like the percentage of like actual agents that own property, like investments to cuenta down?
Honestly, if I had to guess, I'd say probably like 7 to 10% of the agents out there actually own an investment property. Yeah, that's crazy.
But then, when you look at that, and it's like, okay, they own an investment property or two investment properties, right? Like, we're not talking about this becoming like their business, but like if you have an agent that makes $500,000 a year, and a lot of them do that are good agents, like most of them aren't even really business owners, so they pay a crap ton of taxes off of that money. And then, by the time they go out and buy the nice car and, take the vacations and do the lifestyle things that they want to do, that money's gone. And so, maybe over a few years, 5, 6, 7 years, they scrape together enough money to go out and buy an investment property or something like that. The other thing that kind of blows me away around that, though, is the strategy around the investment property that they buy. So many of them buy into this thought, like, okay, well, as long as it can break even, that's great. And then over a period of time, and then they basically don't touch their investment property over a super long period of time, hold on to it, make marginal cash flow. I think that's a major reason that people aren't actually diving deep into this, because nobody's educating them on how to buy cash flowing assets, and how to make that a business. So I guess from that perspective, it does make sense to me that it's like, okay, well, cool. Yeah, I've got this investment property that I bought for $500,000. I'm making $200 a month off of it. But my property manager calls me up and tells me I had a roof leak. Now I got to spend $7,000. It feels like a liability to them.
More than the asset, yeah.
Right. And so so I see that, but also I feel like in general, in the real estate community, there's a very large lack of, people out there willing to educate on building a portfolio, on saying like, hey, I realize you're a real estate agent, but here's how you can take that exit over a period of time. And so that's an important thing to us. That's what we strive to within our sphere, our little tiny sphere that we have, helping our agents and our friends see the bigger picture. Hey, if you can buy something and it actually does cash flow and make a really good return on investment, that does mean that it's very probable that you can eventually pull some equity out of that and rinse and repeat that and do it over and over again by buying cash flowing assets. Mm-hmm. And so that's our dumb little Instagram name, Cash Flow California, right? We're teaching people how to cash flow in California.
So why do most people say it's difficult to cash flow in California, bro?
Well, I mean, unless you're like some sort of distressed property wizard that can find all these amazing deals off market, and like, great, you can go buy a $350,000 property that should be 500 grand, and you can get a low enough mortgage payment to actually cash flow. You only have like the path of multifamily, which is like, now you're going out and you're buying something that's $1.5 million to bring in a $600 or $6,000 a month rent.
Minimum $1 million.
And so like, so there, it is rough to cash flow because that asset class is desirable. So people will pay maybe a little bit more than they should as like a long-term strategy. And housing's unaffordable in California. We just don't have enough inventory. So there are other states where you can cash flow. California just typically is not one of them. And so the game that gets played here in California is, great, I'm going to get a long-term rent appreciation and I'm going to get a long-term value appreciation. And so anything that hits the open market at fair market value almost doesn't cash flow / basically breaks even. So that's kind of...
I would throw in taxes on top of that too, is another reason why people buy assets that maybe don't cash flow here in California still.
Yeah.
It's because they want to be in Southern California. They know it's a great market. They want the tax benefits. They're going to 1031 something anyways. They need to drop it into something and they're like, this is good enough. And so we see it a lot by investors that come to us, or a lot of our leads come to us off of Zillow and they're like, hey, I'm going to buy this duplex and it's out here in the Inland Empire. It's $800,000. The rent rolls $4,000. And they're like, that's good enough. I'm going to be putting down a huge down payment anyways. And we're looking at that, we're like, we can do way better than that for you. Let's look at something else and look at this. But they just don't know where to go.
Got it. So let's speak on taxes, like an actual example that you guys, maybe yourselves or a client that you guys actually help reduce their taxes, or something specific like, hey, this is what we did for a client and this is how he saved on taxes. Like just an example on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we're not accountants, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
This isn't financial advice.
We have a lot of real estate clients that have been able to designate as real estate professionals. That's where you get like the biggest bang for your buck on tax benefit in real estate. Now, you're familiar with, and I think a lot of your listeners will be familiar with, depreciation expense, right? Mm-hmm. So the IRS basically gives you the ability, if you're a real estate professional, to do a cost segregation study. And even if you're not, like, you can take a different kind of benefit from the cost segregation study. But basically, you're able to take the depreciation, say that you're going to get $500,000 that you'll depreciate over 27 years. You can take a big chunk of that by doing this cost segregation study and take it all in 1 year. And so...
What if I don't make enough money to like cancel that out? Would that be carried over?
So it rolls forward.
Okay. Yeah.
But like, I'll use my own example. I did a couple cost segregation studies this last year on properties that we bought, and it was a savings in tax of a couple $100,000 that I didn't have to pay on a tax bill because of the cost segregation studies. And so that's massive, right? And so, but I have multiple clients that Brian and I work with where like they have been able to do enough or get their license or whatever it is to designate as a real estate professional and use that trick for themselves, right?
So an example of that I would say is like, we have a buddy of ours that's a dentist, right? So he can't claim that, right? He can't show if he gets audited.
Right.
Also a real estate professional. That's not going to fly. But his wife, yeah, she can get her license, and now she's a real estate professional, hang her license with a friend at a brokerage, whatever it is, do a couple transactions throughout the year. Great. Perfect. And so that would be our advice, number one, for someone who's looking to do this, because then you can do the cost segregation studies, and huge benefit.
But even still, like, there's lots of different ways that you can take benefit through your taxation, even if you're not a real estate professional. So as you're doing, like, we do ADUs on every single property that we buy or that we help a client buy for investment. Like in California, because of that law, like that's what we're doing. And so the cost of improving those, part of it can be capital improvement, part of it can be repair, like, and so those get treated differently on your tax return.
Right.
And you know, but the bottom line is a lot of that stuff goes towards an active loss, depending on how you're doing your taxes. And so like there's lots of stuff like that that's really great, but you also, now you've improved your property, and so that's a really big benefit. The other thing that, you know, I see men talk about, and there's a few different people that talk about this quite a bit, but there's a strategy wherein like you can go in, you improve the property and increase the value significantly, and you pull out a loan against the money that you just put in, slash sometimes you've forced a significant amount of appreciation. And if you go in and pull out $100,000, $200,000, that's all tax-free money.
It's debt.
It's debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've taken on debt, but if you're able to force enough appreciation of rents based off of the improvements that you're doing, like we literally just did that on one of our properties this last week. We just did some improvements that increased the rents on Dufferin by $1,500, and we were able to pull out debt of $75,000, for some of it for improvement, some of it to pay us back for different things we've done over a period of time. But that $75,000 cost us 500 some odd bucks a month, but we got $1,500 a month in increased cash flow because we were willing to do these improvements that cost us much less. And so like those are little tricks that you can play where it's like, yeah, technically like that's income that we get to bring in. We've improved the value of the asset more than what we put, you know, into it. But I mean, the bottom line is we got that money and we're not paying any taxes on that.
Because it's debt.
Because it's debt.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
But if my debt, like with an ADU, you know, if my debt is $100,000 on something that just forced $200,000 in appreciation, but also gave me a couple grand a month in rents,
Right.
like that's a win. And I'm going to make that deal every day. And so if I want to borrow out $150,000 and I can debt service that, I just made 50 G's with no taxes.
And somebody else is paying the 50 G's off.
Somebody else is paying it for you.
That's awesome, dude. So how'd you guys start as partners? That's a good question, because partnerships are not the easiest. I could tell you from personal experience. Most people say partners stay away from partnerships. So my mentors tell me stay away from partnerships, but you guys promote partnerships. So it's a very interesting take that I want to know. Like, how do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, so Jared was my real estate agent in 2016 when my wife and I bought our first home out here. We had just moved out here and started a new job. And then as Jared and I became friends and started hanging out after that, he asked if I wanted to join him. And I said no at first. I was like, I don't know, man, doing a commissions job just scared me, you know, dropping into that after being a W-2 employee.
Yeah.
But then the more I talked to him and got to see his lifestyle and everything he was doing, and at that time, he was still heavily flipping and a real estate agent. And so that is what was appealing to me, is I didn't know anyone in my life that was doing both of those things, you know? And so it seemed very solid.
Were you like in the movie Wolf of Wall Street? Have you seen that movie? Where you're like, show me the check stuff.
Yeah.
That was you.
Honestly, basically, that's kind of what Jared did towards the end, is he was like, I will guarantee you'll make exactly what you're making this year. I won't let you make any less. And so once he said that, I was like, oh, damn, like, what's my risk then? Really nothing, you know? And that totally did happen. I didn't have to pull anything extra out of the company or do anything like that. We totally did that just based off of commissions and selling and everything like that my first year. And so from there, you're right, there's pros and cons to it all. I think for us, and we just talked about this with someone else, is that we realized that we're more alike than we thought, I think. You know, we were thinking like, okay, Jared's the creative one. I'll be the guy that's sitting behind the keyboard and like typing away and doing stuff. We both totally have ADD big time. Like we're both sales guys. We both like to interact. We both like to be social and talk to people. And so in that aspect, we're very similar. But at the same time, now I think we've built up a really good team around us that's picked up the ball on areas that we lack, that we need help with.
Yep.
And we've been able to, instead of taking things off each other's plate, I think we've just grown, And so like one of us will focus on the team, the agents, Jared's focusing on bigger picture items, investors, things like that. And so instead of dropping our workload, it's obviously like increased our workload. And so that part will balance out eventually, in life. But for right now, it's been good.
One thing I do see is pretty cool about you guys is like, you're in your lane doing your deal, and you're in your lane doing your deal. And it's like, I see like kind of you're saying, oh, I work more with the investors and that. And I see you kind of like, you still do some of the work, but I see like you guys both have different things that you guys are doing. But then at the end, it comes together and it's like, it's powerful. So I think that's one thing that me and my pops do a lot. Like he worries on the day-to-day with the construction guys, and I worry more on like client acquisition and getting customers and sales.
Yep.
So I think everybody knowing their roles, where they're at, and where you're better at than the other person, and being like, hey, I suck at that, but he's kind of a little better than me at that stuff. And so I see that in you guys. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
I think that the two biggest things that I've learned over since 2018 is when I came on full time with Jared is trust. So like, for you, it's your dad. Like that's awesome. Family, I think is one of those only relationships you can do that with. For me, I noticed right off the bat, like Jared, he doesn't lie. And it's one of the things I love about him. But like if he messes up or he forgot to call someone back or he forgot to do something with me, it's like, I didn't do that. Like I'm totally sorry. I dropped the ball on that. I'm going to do this though. I'll pick it up and I'll call this person. I'll take care of that problem. That's number one, is like having that trust with someone. And I don't worry about it. Like if Jared takes his family to Disneyland tomorrow, great, go for it. Do it. Because I know he's going to kill it on Saturday and Sunday, and he's going to make up for that day that he missed. And I know he's still working. I know he's still getting back to everyone and keeping the wheel spinning. So I think that's huge to have. I think that's where people kind of get messed up. And then the humility part of it. And so having someone who's willing to go out and be the face or go out and talk and, not get jealous of like, oh man, he gets to be on stage and like, I'm just back here in the background. Like, it's okay. There's plenty to go around for everyone. And he takes a meeting, I take a meeting. He does this speaking event, I'll do the next one. It doesn't really matter. And so I think that's a big thing too. Like Jared's never once said to me like, oh, you can't be doing that all the time. Or, I don't know. There's
would
no
it matter?
jealousy and
Would it matter if he did 15 speaking engagements and you did none?
No, I would love that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, there's two things that Brian said that I think are really important. Like we have multiple partners in different ventures and different businesses. And the culture of, yeah, I effed up, like, and I'm going to own it. Like, that's what we actually have across the board with the partners that we have. Like, they are people that will tell us the truth.
Accountability.
Like, even, dude, we would love to F up so much less than we do. But, like, it's fine. Like, because we can be accountable. We can see where the hole was. We can see, like, where we can improve next time. And so that's important. But then also like that, so that culture of honesty, but then also like there's power in knowing that the other person in that scenario has your back, and that like I'm not going to hide anything from Brian, and Brian's not going to hide anything from me. Like if we have a deal, whatever our deal is, like we're on each other's team, and we're not going to get one over on each other in some way. It's like, okay, no, well, that was a secret deal. Like nobody needed to know. Like neither of us are out for that. Like Brian said, there is plenty to go around, and whatever lane we're in, like the more that we do in that spot, like the better off all of us are going to be, because it all ends up coming back to the same thing. Like I love the saying that, with the tide, all boats rise together. Yep. The big ones, the small ones, it doesn't matter. Like, and so we we just want to make sure that the tide continues to rise.
That makes
So
sense.
that's what so all of the team members that we have, like, or at least the partners that we have, like, that's the shared common goal. And like there are some things that I just really, like you said, I suck at. Like, there are many things that I suck at, and figuring out like how Brian can pick up the slack on many of those things, figuring out how our different partners or assistants like can pick up the slack on those things, and like you said, like defining those lanes has been super important in partnership. And there's frustration for sure, like all the time. It's frustrating to them when there's things that I don't get done that are my job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think being able to talk about that stuff too, right? So it comes like having that Latin background and like that machismo of like, man, fuck you, like you go do that, you know, like I'm not gonna do that. You go do it. I did it last. Like getting rid of that, I think helps a ton. But then also being able to talk about that and say, like, hey man, I really don't like this. I'm always getting stuck with whatever X, Y, Z, and then being comfortable enough to say that where you know you're not gonna offend that person, or I know they're not gonna be mad or hold that against me. He doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't get mad. You know, I mean, mad, yes. But like, I know it's going to be gone and over with. We're going to move on. It's not something that we're holding on to. It's going to like slowly eat us apart and like tear it apart. We both do therapy. Therapy's great. Got to do that. You know,
Not together, not couples therapy.
Not couples therapy, but maybe we should. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be great. No, I have
Call
enough
the
therapy
therapist.
going on in my life. I don't need more.
So switching gears on you guys, what do you guys see for, like, you guys been building ADUs for people and for yourselves? What do you guys see as like the biggest struggle or the biggest hurdle in doing ADUs for somebody that's just going to start?
Yeah. So first of all, like the first question that we talk to people about, like when they call us and say, hey, we're interested in doing an ADU. Awesome. How much money do you have? Right? Like, so money is an issue relative to ADUs. Now, like, we've really strived to put ourselves in a position as a company because of the investment strategy that we've had surrounding ADUs, where we can provide a very competitive, affordable price for a clientele. But that, no matter what that price is, it's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
It's you're nearing or over six figures every time you want to do one of these deals. So, you know, having a great relationship with our lender, like that's helpful to that. But then second of all, like you are going to, regardless of like what you think you know about construction, live construction is not fun. And so getting through the process of having somebody in your backyard or having somebody ripping apart your garage and jackhammering, like that's the other thing that's like a big struggle for people as they start going through the process.
Like the actual people in and out and all that going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, and I know that you deal with this on a daily basis where it's like, hey, how come you left that bag of cement over there? Like, that doesn't look good. Like, this homeowner doesn't want to see that. That renter doesn't want to see that. Like, put your crap away, you know? Like, just all the little things like that. It's not, that part of it's not fun. However, I do think, like, to get over that hurdle for a lot of these people, like, yes, there is a time that will be going on. So it's like the focus, and Brian's kind of talked about this, like I'm definitely more of the 30,000 foot kind of view guy. It's like, yes, but this will end. And when it does end, like where do you stand? Like what does that look like for you? What's the value add that you just created? Whether it's that your mom's gonna live close to you now and be able to watch your kids, or it's your first kid that's leaving the house, like is now gonna be able to stay in state instead of having to move out of state to be able to make ends meet or whatever. Like all of those different things, or the extra rental income that makes it so that you don't have to work overtime anymore. Like whatever the scenario is, like the reason you're doing an ADU is you've got some problem that you're trying to solve in your life. You need a little more cash flow. Mom needs to live. It doesn't matter. Like, and so if you can focus on that thing so that you can push through the hard stuff like that.
The bigger picture, hey, I'm done. Yeah, I get it.
And I would, with that, like Jared said, I think biggest problems for people trying to do one right now, or the biggest hurdle that they have to get over, is financing, right? Number one, like Jared said. Number two is a little bit, he touched on that, is time. The time it takes to go through the city, to go through the permitting process. Once construction starts, I won't say what city, but it rhymes with Schmapple Valley. Like, that city lost our plan set, right? So it's like, now what? Like, you've already had them for 4 months, and now we're calling you and you're telling us that you lost them.
Yeah.
Like, and so that kind of stuff is like the biggest hurdles I think that people
What's the time limit cities have?
90 days.
90 days. Okay, we're over 100 on one. So, which I probably got to talk to your buddy.
Yeah.
So have you forced anybody yet? Have you forced the hand of a
Oh, we
city
did.
yet?
No. So that's what I'm saying. I got to talk to your buddy.
Yeah.
Because
We've done it.
Because we even told him, hey, we have our attorney on the line, which we didn't. And the person, the main building official said, oh, I don't talk to attorney, sorry. So tell them to go talk to the city attorney, which they know what's going on and they don't care.
So interesting thing, the new set of laws that just passed here last month for ADUs, or I don't know, maybe the end of September, I don't know. But gives HCD governance over that issue now. Like, if they're not meeting the 60-day to touch your plans, or if they're not meeting the 90 days or whatever to approve you, HCD can unilaterally approve your plans.
What's HCD?
Using an acronym that most people don't know, Housing Community Development. And so they're the governing...
State.
Yeah, the state.
Got it.
The governing body over housing in the state now gets to come in and be like, oh, city, you think that you can just do whatever you want? No, you're past the timeline. Move on with life. Give them their permit.
And that's, I think, a pro tip for anyone that is following you, because I know you have a lot of followers that are doing this maybe on their own. They're just watching you to learn tips. Is they have a form on their website that you can fill out if you're having a problem or a city is telling you no. The new law is they can tell you no, but they need to give you what you can do to correct it to get a yes. And they're supposed to tell you that information. But emailing HCD along with the city planner, you'd be surprised at how fast that city planner all of a sudden chimes back in with a reply or changes their tune or whatever it might be and starts communicating again. And so if you're at a stalemate and you're not getting through to anyone, CCing on there as well with the HCD, like, you'd be surprised and be like, hey, heads up, like, state of California, this is what the city's telling me here in Fontana. Like, what can I do now? Can you help me out with this? And then boom, you'll see them reply right away and be like, oh, hey. Like,
it's funny because they told us that 90 days is only for, what was it? Townhouses or some BS. And I was like, dude, come on, I
mean, the thing is, like, what we have discovered is, as you deal with cities, like, it's just like when you go to anything, right? Like, you're going to get a different answer from almost every person that you talk to on what the law is, on how they interpret it. And we have seen a lot of cities, and I don't want, like, we live in Riverside. We do most of our business here. And honestly, our experience in Riverside has been very good. Not the best, like perfection, but out of all the cities that we deal with, we just happen to live in and operate in our favorite city to deal with. So
right.
That being said, like, a lot of cities are not that way. A lot of municipalities are anti-ADU, and they don't like it. The planning department definitely doesn't like it in a lot of these cities. And so they will give you information that they know is false. I have had this happen multiple times. And so we're like, yeah, except for, remember this plan set from 3 months ago that we got approved on the same exact thing. And they're like, oh, okay, well, and it's like, yeah, you guys are full of crap. Like, exactly, like, we had a county, I'm not going to say which county, that we dealt with that literally said that, okay, we're changing our guidelines, like we're going to inform the decision that we had come to with our attorney and with, with HCD. But the bottom line is, like, they didn't. They told us, we sat with the head official, like they're like, here's what we're doing. And so we have multiple instances after that where we continued to have to fight the same battle. But it was quicker. Like, we escalated right back up to the top, and they're like, oh yeah, for sure, let's do this. But that's unfair. Like, to us, fine, we can fight our battle. Like, we have a business built around this ADU, junior ADU product that we've been doing. But that's not fair to a homeowner that's just trying to get their mom into a space or their kid, you know, like, it's bullcrap. And so kind of moving around that and understanding that there's lots of people out there that do this every day, and they can be a mentor to you if you're going through a project. Get on a message board, ask some questions. People can help you through this process that walk it every day. But there is a reason that people like you get paid decent money to do these ADUs, because it's not all straightforward. It's
Well, like
not
this,
super
like I'm
fast.
telling you guys, we're at 3 months now. What's the client gonna say? Hey, you guys are not doing what you're supposed to do. Us.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like we CC them on all the emails. It's like, look what they're telling us.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge if you're the first time builder. Like, hey, I'm gonna build this myself. I'm gonna do owner builder, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't know what you're running into. And I see on the forums a lot of people are like, yeah, just do it yourself. It's like, okay.
Well, so the statistics, like on LA County this last year, were that I think 20,000 permits were pulled, or like that had been pulled, like 7,000 actually started their jobs or something like that. And that's partially because, like, when people get into this stuff, like, there's a lot of delays, there's a lot of hard things, finances or circumstances change. But my question is, how many people actually submitted for a permit versus how many actually pulled one? Like, that would be a much more interesting number.
So you're saying 20,000 permits were pulled, or 20,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, and I want to say it was 7,000 people, you know, and somebody like that watches your podcast can correct me on this, but yeah, I believe that it was 7,000 actually, finaled their permit or something like that. But my question is, how many submitted and didn't even, like, got rejected or didn't get through the process? And I will say, the LA County and LA City are forward thinking on this, right? Like, they absolutely, relative to most of the places that we deal with in the Inland Empire, like, they're housing starved, and so they're like, yeah, great, let's do it.
Let's do it,
all
yeah.
the ADUs. Like,
I mean, I would love to see too, for the city and the planning departments, like how many times when they tell someone no, did that person not even go back to them and ask why, or what else can I do? Is there something else?
Or fix the corrections.
Yeah,
or,
and so 75% of the time, I would think, at least, like, that homeowner is getting told, no, you can't do that there. And they're like, all right. And they just drop it and they're like, well, we can't do it. You know?
And the worst part, dude, is like, okay, we submit plans. Architect gives the homeowner submit plans. Homeowner goes and submits plans, doesn't even know what they're submitting, because
No.
I see this happening all the time.
Yes.
And then they submit the plans, they get back corrections. Now the architect doesn't even want to deal with them because he already charged them full amount. And the homeowner is like, what do I do next?
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. So that's why I think it's so
Or then
important.
it sits on the architect's desk now for another month before they even look at it.
Yeah, bro.
And then they turn the corrections back in. And then it sits on the planning department's desk for another month. Now you're 5 months into this and nothing's even started. You don't even have stamped plans back yet. Like, it can delay. So that's why we tell people when they come to us and they just want plans, it's like, great, we'll do the plans. And then they take it and they do it by themselves, and they don't have someone like you guiding them and helping them, or someone like us doing it all. They end up coming back to us anyways in 4 months and are like 70 grand into the job. And when we look at it, we're like, yeah, you got 60 G's left to even finish this thing, you know? But their person disappeared on them now.
and they've gone through the pain too. And it's like, look, there's, you know, you get paid money for expertise, but you also get paid money for going through the pain, right? Like, and you've gone through the pain enough, so you know the things to avoid. And it ultimately means that you can whatever the purpose for your ADU is, like you can get that completed faster, right?
Less pain.
Yeah, with less pain, and for the consumer, much less pain. And so, but really also for the consumer, like actual completion, because lots of times they give up during the process because it's just too hard. And like, there's some of the things that people that will say to me, like they're like, oh, but I was told by my guy that this would be $40,000. I'm like, wait, what? Like $40,000? I'm like, that's a $3,000 issue.
I love Ryan's How to ADU, his Facebook group. But dude, the shit that comes out there sometimes, I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? And then there's 40,000 people in there. Maybe I would say around 25,000 are actually homeowners. The other 15 are people selling bullshit on there. Right. And I'm just like, there's 25,000 people being lied to about this stuff.
Well, and so like...
And not Ryan. I'm talking about everybody
100%.
posting the comments and all that crap.
Absolutely. No, Ryan is super fastidious. He's amazing. Like, super great guy. However, like, there is a reason that contractors do that, right? They're like, oh, you need footings on the front of your garage? Yeah, that's an extra $17,000. I'm like, no, that's not what that costs, sir. Like, come on. And look, I get it. Like, if it cost me $2,500 to do something physically, it's not going to cost you $2,700. There's time and effort and all. But what? Maybe it's $5,000. You know, maybe it's something like that. But it's not 17, right? Yeah. Like that's not the way that we think or operate. We're not looking at it and like, oh, cool. Like,
we're gonna get them.
We've got this opportunity to get rich off this item. We aren't making a lot on the front, but we're gonna make a lot by the time we get through. That's bullcrap. And so, like, I do think that back to the challenges are finding a good contractor that's actually gonna deliver your product, that's not gonna walk off the job, that's gonna help you through the process, or like having that mentor, if you're doing it owner builder, that's actually going to be able to say to you, nope, that's crap. Don't listen to that. That doesn't make any sense. Go get another bid. You know, if you're dealing with all the subs, cool. But at least having somebody that's walked the path that can help you through the process.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. I think if I wouldn't be in this business, I don't know if I would do it. Like if it's my first time ever, do it by myself. That's crazy. And I didn't have no expertise. It's not easy. I applaud the people that do it. Yeah. But most of the times, bad shit happens. Yeah. Most of the times I've seen it.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things, like you said, that you applaud the people that do it. Like ultimately, as we're transacting with people and they're getting involved in real estate investment or whatnot, like the truth is, like in the story, like sometimes in our head, like we're the hero, right? We're like, oh yeah, we told them they could do this, and then we helped them do the construction, and like now look at this beautiful thing in their portfolio. Cool. But actually, the real hero in that story is the person taking the risk and the action. And so that homeowner that's going out, they're doing something massive to make a change in their life. They're the hero. And like we get to be the guides and we get to help them. But ultimately for us, that's like a really fun part of the process, is seeing these people do something that they came up with or even heard about conceptually in their head. And they're like, hey, we're going to put effort and time and money into this thing to make a change, like, and to do something that's going to benefit us long term. Like, and that's inspiring to us to be able to be a part of that process with these people and help them. Like, really, they're on this hero's journey of what they're trying to accomplish at the end. And we just get to walk them through the process and be like, oh, watch out for this and watch out for that. And here's what we do over here. Like, and so it's a pleasure and really it's a privilege to be able to help people through that. And then some of our clients, like, that have really latched onto this, like the massive change that investing in ADUs has made in their life, like, yeah, it's awesome to us.
So we do a lot of new builds, garage conversions, but I know your guys' strategy is a little different than let's just say what people do in LA. right? Or there's some, like we've had a few clients that do your strategy. Like talk about your strategy, why it's so efficient, and then the backside of it, the rent and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so basically we're taking a single family, mainly using existing footage, converting a garage, converting a bonus room, a family room, something like that, to do an ADU into junior ADU. So we turn it into a triplex. And so like we have an educational course where we teach people how to run the model that we're running called Triplex Millionaire. It's a little corny, but it gets the point across. And so we'll come out and in a project in Riverside County, San Bernardino County, something like that, we will buy a property or help our clients buy a property in the low $500,000 range. We'll put $100,000 into construction to do the units, divide them into like 3 little fenced off separate units, right. Keeping the main house, the bulk of the square footage in that, getting rid of a garage, making that a unit, and then by the time we're done, we've got these 3 units that we rent out, typically a 1-bedroom, a studio, and a 3 or 4 bedroom. Okay. And by the time we do that, we're going from something that would have rented as a house at $3,000 to something that now is a triplex or an ADU triplex rents out for $6,000 or $6,500. And so, that's the model. So that's what we've been doing. We've done 160 some odd of those over the last 2 years for ourselves and for our clients, mainly our clients. And we've done like 23 or 24 of them for ourselves now. And so that's what we're doing.
So it's not your first rodeo if somebody hits you up like, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah, we still have new experiences like every day.
And I think that's like goes back to your other point where you're talking about someone trying to do this by themselves, right? So there's so much free knowledge out there, and I totally think someone could do that by themselves, the whole thing. The problem is that's going to be almost a full-time job, I believe, for that person if they really want to do it well. You have to vet all your vendors. You have to double check everyone, make sure they've been in business for a while. What do the reviews say? You're going to walk off with your money, going through the permit process, pulling the plans, walking through that, making sure they're there, making sure the guys, you have to watch everything and do everything yourself, So I think that really is a full-time job.
And the snake contractor, dude.
Oh, 100%. Contractors, a lot of them walk off with people's money or delay the jobs. And what is supposed to take, like active construction, maybe 2 months, 3 months, ends up taking a year and a half. Yeah. I
remember the reel you just did where you took over someone's job where you had to come in and finish up. Yeah. But that's risky for you too. You don't know what that guy did or what is underneath all the work that.
When that happens, we don't go on the permit. I say, hey, you go pull as owner builder. We'll help you. Yeah. And they were like, why can't you just pull it yourself? I said, because I don't know what's existing. Right. So I'm not going to take on the liability of. I said, you as an owner, you could take on the liability, and I'll help you out.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go sign the permit. We're just not.
Yeah.
So it's risky, dude. Like this construction thing is risky. Another thing that just happened literally yesterday, I got the homeowner. So we had a sub. They didn't pay out one of their guys. So guess what they sent in the mail? Mm-hmm. Not $400, but still, the homeowner is getting a lien paper, and they're like, "What is this? What is this?" Now I gotta explain it to the homeowner. Hey, it's gonna I'm not gonna let the whole thing go to waste over $400. But now you have that bad situation because somebody was trying to be sneaky.
Yeah, and so but back to Brian's point, there's a lot of free content out there, and so on our Instagram, Cashflow California, we put a lot of free content out there, just telling people hey, here's what we're doing. It's not a secret. The model that we're running and the scale that we're running is unique, but people can do this. But also, we know with free information that we can go out and tell 5,000 people that want to know the knowledge and want to do the investment. And probably 10 of them, 15 of them are actually going to go out and take the massive action that's required, unless they have somebody that can be like, oh yeah, you know what, just call us and we'll do it for you. And that's our goal, right? Our goal is we can transact with maybe 100 of those people because they're like, hey, that's a great idea. I'd love to do it, but they're never going to actually do it.
But I'm a dentist. I'm a doctor. I'm busy.
Yeah. And so, but then we tell people, like, over the last couple of years, we've made millions of dollars running this product for ourselves and our clients. That's really great. But we've also lost hundreds of thousands of dollars by bad mistakes.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. Like, as we're early adapters, like, we're figuring stuff out, and we're like, shit, that did not work. Like, that was a problem, and here's why we won't do that again.
And one of the things Jared was talking about, you know, our model that you were asking about, like taking a single family, turning it into a triplex. The main thing that we're doing when we started this in 2021 was the owner occupancy law, right? And so getting around that was the biggest thing. And because we were doing these, but it was all for investors, so none of them were owner occupied. The great thing about that and learning how to get that
So what's the law? What's the law?
So you have to be owner occupied to do a junior ADU and a senior ADU. The senior ADU, no problem. You can do it no matter where you're at, HOA, whatever city in California, you can do a senior ADU, either ground up in your backyard or convert your garage, whatever you want to do. You want to do a junior ADU, which is below 500 square feet and needs to be existing square footage. The most cities, all cities, when we started in 2021, were like, no, you got to be owner occupied to do that there. Well, that's not the case. You can get around it, you know, and you can do that non-owner occupied. The thing that we ran into when we were doing that, though, is, you know, how do we legally do that? Approach it to the cities, show them what the real law is, print that out, bring it to them, a letter from our attorney. Here's the land trust that the property's in now to get around that, to be non-owner occupied. So now please let us do the junior ADU and the senior ADU. And so far, we're 100% on that.
You're batting 1,000%.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, right? Like, and you know, like Ryan would cringe when Brian says the word "get around it," right? Because it's not actually getting around the law. It's just the way that the cities understand the law. Because most of them, at the time that we started this, did not actually understand the law, because it says the city can impose an owner occupancy restriction, and then it says, so it can be owner occupancy, a government entity, a housing authority, or a land trust. What's a land trust? Oh, so that's what we figured out.
So you did your little research on the
We did our research. It was fine. So we're not getting around the law. We're applying the law. And so but at the same time, most people just see owner occupancy restriction. And if you look in the HCD handbook for ADUs, it actually says owner occupancy restriction, and then it gives like the sub paragraph as per such and such code. Then you go to the code and read, oh yes, it does say owner occupancy, but it also says these other three things. So we figured that out a few deals in. So like that could have been disastrous for us if that's not what the law did say, but it was only a few deals disastrous. Yeah. Right? And so we figured that out pretty quickly, and we're applying that. But what Brian and I have learned over the last 5 years especially is there are always people that know way more than we do. And what we do is we pay them money to help us to do what we want to do, but in a better way, in a faster way. And we can do it, just way, way easier. There's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel. Like, I can go buy a contract that says what I already would pay an attorney $10,000 to drop. There's a $700 way that I can buy that contract. Like, I don't need to go spend $10,000. Somebody else has already vetted this. And then I can have my attorney look that over, and he can put a couple hours into it, and now it's only a $1,700 contract. Yeah. Cool. Way better than spending 10 grand for him to go from ground zero. And so that's kind of the way that we approach and look at this stuff. And that's one of the reasons that we wanted to launch our paid course, because people have hundreds of questions when they go through this process as investors or as agents that want to sell ADU potential projects to their people. Cool. Our time's not free. Like, we can't do that for free. But what we can do...
Wait, I can't take you out for coffee? Just hang out?
Yeah, for sure. How many offers do I get for coffee? Like, and until recently, I didn't even drink coffee. So, like, that was a real problem for me. I'm like, what? You're going to buy me a Diet Coke? Like, at least give me a $5 drink, right? Yeah. And so... But that's the thing, is we don't have massive amount of times that we can give away for free. But what we do have is when we're driving to community, we can answer everybody's question at the same time. We can get on a conference call every week. Like, we can put together our course that we have that people can go through where we've already pre-answered most of their questions. And so that was important to us because we want to be able to add the value to people.
And what I think is pretty cool about your guys' course is, because I went through it, you're always adding stuff, right? When things start coming out, because there's always things changing in this space. So it's like, okay, what could we add? What could we add?
Yeah.
Because there's like just 2024, there's a whole bunch of new things kicking in.
Yeah.
And we have to be ready for it. And if you're the ADU guy out in Riverside, you better be ready for it. I better be ready for it.
Yeah.
So one thing I like doing is doing the stuff myself first on my own dime.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like, it's not theory. It's here it is. So kind of like with you guys and the land trust, it's like, I don't know about that stuff, but you guys do. So, and you guys actually done it.
Yeah.
So I always like being around people that actually have done it already, and it makes it easier for me.
Yeah, because you're doing the SB9 right now, right? On one of your stuff. Yeah, so that's great. Like,
so I haven't told anybody, hey, you could hire us, or because I haven't finished it yet. Yeah.
No, and so like condoization is something that came out in this last law. Now cities have to adopt that, but there already is a provision in the HCD handbook if it's been developed by a nonprofit. So guess what we did? We went out, we already had a nonprofit for different purposes, but we went out and developed a nonprofit specifically just to do that. So we can do it in any municipality. And so we're gonna work through the condoization docs. Like, we're gonna have our legal already drawn up for that. We're gonna have our title already done so that we can teach our people how to do it. And they don't have to figure out this massive lift of how to do this thing. And so we are in the process of identifying the property that we're gonna do the first one.
So if you add that into your course, that's just so much more value, because how much equity are we talking about? Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
100%. Like, I did some math on the day that came out on our existing portfolio, and it's like, shit. Like, even if we're just selling off each unit for $200,000, like, which is insane. It will be more than that. But I was like, that's $9 million shift in value if we just sold off those properties right now. And that was wild. I was like, and so it can be massive. And I think that our cost into that was very significantly less than $9 million.
But I think it is great because it does help that affordability that's going on right now. I mean, as a first-time couple, like in 2016 when we bought our first home with Jared, like our mortgage was, I think $1,700, something like that. And so like at that time it was like, okay, great. But even then it was kind of scary for us, you know, as a first-time couple just getting married, and like we're like, oh man, that's a lot of money. You know, now I look back at them, I'm like, I would take that all day long, every day, you know. But being able to start off with a little 2-bed, 2-bath place of your own as a married couple out here, at least in the Empire, if you could pick that up for $425 or something like that, you know, or $375, that's awesome. You know, that's way more affordable than paying $5,000 a month on an FHA loan that I don't even know.
Yeah,
how
I think
people
these things
doing
will easily go for $300, dude.
Yeah, for sure. And so like, but as we look at that, like from an investment model, like we want to know all the nuances of that thing. And so we will just be the first people to do it. That's what we'll do. Like, we'll just go out, we'll go through our bumps and bruises, we'll pay the legal bills that come in to do that the first time, and then we'll rinse and repeat it for ourselves, we'll rinse and repeat it for our clients. If people want that to be their flipping strategy, like, and so the cost of our course relative to any of this stuff is super nominal, because the amount that we're investing in this business that other people want to be into is massive. We put a lot of time and a lot of money into what we do, and people can come in and be like, oh yeah, I'll give you, you know, X $1,000, and then they're good. like, and they can literally pick our brain, take our knowledge. Like, they don't have to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars an hour to sit down with somebody that normally would have to charge them that to justify their time. And so we love that. We love synergy, like, because ultimately what we find is we end up doing deals with people. We end up making friendships with people that are in the same space as us, and they have solutions to our problems that we've never even thought of. And, you know, same thing, like, we can solve lots of problems that they've never thought of within our own little space, in our own little world.
So, ending this, what do you guys think is one thing people could take away about your guys' model, or just in ADUs in general in California? Like, what would you recommend to somebody? Just, hey, it's a thought out there. Like, you're talking to them right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna give a little hack that people can do if they want to do this on their own and they're looking for something. And then Brian can talk to, like, the bigger picture. But if you're trying to do this and you want to do this the cheapest way possible to find yourself in an ADU situation, do a junior ADU, find a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and take a downstairs master or, like, whatever, and turn that into junior ADU. By the time you wall that up, if it's already got a bathroom there, all you're really doing is throwing in a kitchenette and maybe a mini split. And, you know, and you can do some cement and stuff, like, but if you're doing that on your own, it costs next to nothing. Say if you're doing it on your own, you get $25,000, something like that, all into it with plans and everything. And you can rent that thing out in your area, depending, maybe it's $1,200, maybe it's $1,700 a month. And you can do that by yourself. So this can be something that if you want a house hack and you know, link up with the right people and get the right understanding, it can be a very cheap way for you to be able to
create a unit.
And you're serving that person that's paying $1,300, $1,500, whatever a month, by giving them a house in a nice area. But you're also, like, $1,500 a month is not nothing. That's $18,000 a year. That's a lot of money. And so that can mean you can send your kid to college. That can mean whatever you want. Or you can start building up a fund to do an ADU in your garage, you know, or whatever it is. But, like, that's a quick hack to be able to make a massive change in your life. And your return on investment on that will be like 70, 80% on a cash flow basis. And then, like, you can turn around if you wanted to reappraise your house. The value that you put in to your house by adding a junior ADU is massive. Like, you just 5x your investment in value, like, by doing something like that. And so that's a quick hack for somebody that wants to take something away. There's a way for you to make money without having buckets of money in the bank. And by the way, you can go to a company and get a signature loan for something like that. Like, that's credit card kind of money to do a little hack like that.
Dude, it's awesome.
Yeah.
How about you, dude?
Yeah, going along with that, and what Jared was saying is, I think what we see a lot from our friends that are down towards LA area, right? So it's way more expensive than out here in the Inland Empire. And they might not want to move out here, right? Either for work or whatever it might be. They're like, I know it's more affordable out there. I don't want to go out there. I think my advice to people always is, that doesn't mean you can't participate in real estate. You know, we were talking earlier about agents and how many agents really own something or do something. And it's like, it doesn't have to be where you live exactly, you know? And so going out a little bit further to an area that's cheaper and still participating in real estate right now, 10 years from now, you're going to be so happy that you did, you know? And so rolling your money into something right now where you're building up equity, you're participating in this market, and you can do, like Jared was saying, hacking. We kind of talked a little bit about this, but the 203K FHA loan, so you're including the rehab cost into your loan, or a conventional rehab loan. There's those mortgages out there where you can do this to it, and you can finance the construction costs that you're going to be pulling into. But doing that right now, buying that, now your home's worth more, you know, so you bought something out here for $500, now it's worth $750 because you put the ADU on it. You know, then you go and do the senior ADU on the property, it's cash flowing. Then maybe 5 years from now, you don't want it anymore. Maybe you want to sell and you want to buy in the area you really want to be in. So maybe you really want to be in Santa Monica, but it's 2.5 million for a starter home out there, you know? But now you can sell that property that you had out here in the Inland Empire. You can roll it into the home you really want to be in, or maybe you go buy more real estate and it's paying for your rent in whatever city you want to be in. You want to be in downtown Long Beach or wherever you want to be.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't participate in real estate. So I think a lot of people get scared and they're like, well, no, we're not leaving Santa Monica, so we can't buy anything. You know, we're gonna have to save up for 10 years before we do something.
That's what I told you guys about my buddy. That's why I sent him to you guys. I said he needs to buy a real estate now. This is like my real close buddy, and I said, dude, like stop waiting.
Yeah.
And in LA, it's not possible in his situation. I said next best thing is like go a little out. Maybe he has to go a little further out than Riverside, but he's catching the appreciation or just the loan pay down in the meantime with people renting.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a
Because we always get people like that, and they're like, "Well, I'll wait for a foreclosure or something like that." Like, it's just not going to happen. And then you're competing against a bunch of cash
when
buyers.
are you going to foreclose? When can I foreclose on this house?
Yeah. No, for sure. And here's the thing: is like, we use simple numbers to understand the world around us. Like, I mean, everybody does that in life. In real estate, 7% is a really important number because that's the average appreciation that you see in California on real estate. And it's also the average appreciation you see on rents. And so, but the rule of 72 basically says that if you take whatever your rate is that you're getting in return on something, and then you divide it by 72, that tells you how long it takes to double. Well, what that means for real estate, if we've got a 7% interest rate, you divide that by 72, that's 10 years, or that's the period of time. So it's 10 years for us to see a double in value on my rents. So if I've got a $6,000 rent roll, now that's $12,000 in 10 years from now. Also, if I have a $750,000 property, that's $1.5 million. We're not talking about a full lifetime to make massive change in whatever your planning is. If you want to live in Santa Monica and your value of your property that you paid $500,000 for is now $1.5 million, that's amazing. Right now you can go and take that and move where you want to move. Time is everything in real estate. So inaction actually screws you worse and worse and worse
Than a bad deal.
over time. Than a bad deal. You make a bad deal, fine, hold on to it. Yeah. It's okay. And so over the last 14 years, like I've been investing in real estate, and that has made
Let me ask you a question about that. What gave you the wherewithal? I have my buddy JR. He's like, dude, I just saw my dad do it and I did it. Like, what made you invest in real estate?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was invested in real estate. At the time that I got started, he had multiple investments, but not necessarily a massive portfolio. I think he had like 4 properties at the time. Then the market crashed, and I'm in it, and I'm doing loans at the time, and I'm watching all my wealthy individuals that I'm doing loans for. I'm seeing their real estate schedule, and I'm like, wow, the rich people all own a lot of property. This is amazing. So I see the opportunities, and I had the belief that I could do anything that anybody else could do. I'm like, oh, that guy doesn't seem that smart. He's on TV, but he seems like a dummy. Like, why can't I do that? And I was in a circle where my dad's entrepreneurial, and he's like, yeah, I'll partner with you. And he had a couple buddies that would partner with me. So I just started doing it. And I figured at some point it would catch up. Well, guess what? It did. It caught up. And so now the portfolio is massive relative to most people. I think between Brian and I think we have 88 doors now. Yeah. That's a lot. I mean, it's still nowhere near where we can go. I'm 41, Brian's 43. And we've got a lot of years left to do this, God willing. And so we're gonna build a big portfolio. But it all starts from the idea that somebody else that's not that much smarter than me is doing something, and I see that my dad is doing something, so I have belief that I can do that thing too. Lots of privilege for me, being in a spot where my dad was entrepreneurial. He had a great name, and he had capital and was willing to invest it with me and participate with me. like those things are invaluable. So what I would say to anybody that wants to get involved in this, latch on to somebody that will bet on you, that will bet with you, and that will give you a little bit of time, but also like that's approachable, because like really,
Well, I think that too, dude. But like, your dad must have seen something in you to do that. Let's be the truth. There's brothers and sisters or family members that you're like, fuck, I wouldn't give them a dime.
Yeah.
that's true.
So,
Yes.
so who could you become? Who do you have to become to be financeable? To be like, hey, here's 50 G's. Go ahead, do what you got to do.
Well, and I think that goes back what I was going to say when we first started talking, when you asked the real estate question about realtors. I think that is a great lead source for us, right? So like a lot of agents know what we're doing now. A lot of agents know we flip houses. They bring us deals so many times. 90% of the time, I'm like, why did they not keep this, right? Like, why didn't they do this themselves? And it's because they don't know how, they don't know where to start. But if they would have just approached us and been like, hey, I'd love to partner on this with you guys. Like, I have the deal in my hand, in my pocket. I have the signed contract. Hell yeah. We'll partner with you. We'll give you some type of equity in this. And then they build off of that. They get to watch the flip happen, right? They get to learn that process, see how we bid it out, how much it actually cost us. They get to be involved. They can go on the job site. They can do one of the ADUs with us, whatever it might be. And that's how you learn and you grow. And then once they have it figured out, they could take it next time to their uncle who they know has money, or their cousin they know who has money, or their friend that just went to medical school and is a doctor now and needs to write stuff off on their W-2 forms because they're making killer money. So it's like there's so many ways to do that, but people they're so scared, I think, to get started and to ask that question, right? You have to be somewhat humble to go to someone and be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know this is a deal. Can you help me put something together? Like, I need financing. I don't have the money to do this. And I think that's where that comes in.
Dude, that's great. Like, latch on to somebody that's like, but I think latching on and actually being a person of giving value first. And like somebody coming with you with the contract and be like, let's roll, baby. But if somebody's like, hey, I want to partner, but I don't have anything to offer you, and you're like, well, what are we partnering on?
Yeah. And we get that a lot. They're like, oh, no, I just want to be involved. I just want to. And it's like, involved in what? Like, we just found the deal and we brought the money. What did you do?
Right. And so, I mean, there has to be action, there has to be movement, and there has to be belief in yourself that you can do something better or different, or even just the same thing, copy what somebody else is doing, fine. But you've got to believe in yourself that you can do that thing. And yes, somebody else has to have belief in you. However, I will say this. Brian was just pointing at that, like, find somebody that you can partner with or learn from. But the reality is, if you bring massive value to somebody and you're like, hey, I just want to watch. Like, let me watch. And you can kick me something when we're done. Like, you bring them a great deal. 100% of the time, they will do that deal. So you don't have to get people to believe in you to do a deal, because they're taking title, they're doing this, all of the stuff. They've got the security. They don't even have to believe you at all, right? But then if you participate in a very small percentage quite a few times and figure that out, your value add to them is you brought the deal. Like, so they don't have to believe in you. But you go out, you figure that portion out, you bring them something. And by the way, people that bring you value, so like somebody that sends me a few deals, like I had somebody in our group the other day, like that she sent me Coke or Pepsi Zero. I like Pepsi Zero. I was drinking it on our call and I joked about it. And she sent me 4 cases of it. Like, and so I already love her. She's awesome. Like, but how much time and attention is she going to get from me for the $30 investment? I don't know, but it's going to be a lot. Yeah. Like, she texted me earlier today. I give her time. I can't give everybody that wants my time, but I can give her time because she was kind to me. She brought me value and she wasn't asking me for anything.
Yeah. I think that's the worst part, dude, when people ask, like, and I know it sounds weird, right? I want value from this guy, but I have to ask. You guys asked me once, last time we met, like, how did you link up with this person? I said, dude, I just gave value. Like, whatever you needed, I'm there. Yeah. Same, or like bring you a deal, or hey, construction stuff, I could help with construction stuff. Whatever you guys need, I'm there.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people forget is like they just try to give, but with the purpose of extracting. I just give and let's see where it lands, it lands. And if it
When we were flipping more, we've kind of switched our model.
I mean, we still closed 5 flips this month, so I mean, we're not.
It's not as much as we were doing in the past, but there's tons of times when we build really good relationships with our contractors, and we totally would have partnered with them on a lot of this stuff, but it's just maybe they don't want to ask, or maybe they think we wouldn't have been down for doing that, but like we would have, and so it's just asking that and saying like, hey, I'm the one doing the work on this. I'm the one providing this and doing the flip for you guys. I know you're paying me, but like also, hey, next one, like, do you guys mind if like I'll do the construction for free? We split the profit, I'll build that into my costs. Like, let's partner up. And they're going to make way more than the 40 grand we would have paid them to flip the house.
Now you're talking about a unicorn contractor, bro.
That is true,
yes,
but
it is hard to cover the cost, right? While they're doing all the work and doing everything.
They do exist, and we have one that we just did that with. And so, but in general, and that's not our model. That's not what we're looking for, but it is a possibility for people. And I met with a contractor yesterday who did his first ground up, but we had lots of conversations. He wants to build a rental portfolio, but he just did a ground up, and so we had a 45-minute conversation. He's doing an amazing job on the things that he's doing, but it's like, okay, cool, so let's look at if you had built a different product, how you could have the same result as, like, you're gonna walk out with a couple $100,000 at the end. If you could have had the same result of walking out with a couple $100,000 at the end, but still kept the property and it's still cash flow. And that's where getting in the right rooms and dealing with the right people matters. Because he could have done that. He could have done a single family with an ADU and JADU on it. It would have been a $900,000 valuation with what he did. He built a 2,700 square foot house, and instead of building 2,700, he could have gone to a 1,500 and a 750, and a 750 and a 500. Yeah. And if he would have done it that way, by the time everything was said and done, his cost would have been almost identical to what they were to build.
Way more cash flow.
But he would have gotten the cash flow. He would have been able to refinance and pull out $150,000 by the time he was done, and he would have been cash flowing by $2,000 a month. He would have had the same amount of money in the bank at the end, and he'd still own.
You see, to me, that sounds logical, what you're saying. Mm-hmm. But it's I guess because I'm in this world so much that I'm like I'm always trying to see, like even this house we're in right now, I'm like, oh shit, they could divide it, they could split the lot. So I'm just like thinking, so I know the result for this is different, but I'm just saying like there's possibilities,
Yeah.
But I guess because I got trained that way from the get-go, my lens are always set up to see ADU play, junior ADU, splitting the lot.
And that's the thing, is like, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so they always say that. And so it's like, if you're not around those people and you're not seeing, like, people are doing some crazy stuff down in San Diego right now too.
Oh, with the multiple ADUs,
and
that's
multifamily,
crazy,
like 54 unit stuff on these small lots. And
I
like,
was in escrow in one of those, dude, but it just didn't pan out.
No.
And then at the same time, I was like, how are these ADUs going to be valued?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of chicken shit on my side, like how are these going to be valued once they're built? And then everybody like, oh, they're going to be valued like multifamily, but I don't know, are they?
I mean, in our market, they are.
In our market, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. It doesn't translate quite the same way, but very close.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that I'll say about like all the thoughts that you get to have surrounding that, you understand the law, you've done research, and you've done the building, you've done the work. But one of the things that you can do, like if you want to get on somebody's radar too, like, Pace Morby, he's somebody that we're interested in, and like we are doing multiple sub-2 deals right now. Cool. So if we ever want to get on his radar, we've got to meet the barrier to entry. He's got an $8,800 fee to join his course. So we pay that shit, right? Like, who cares? We'll deal in his community and whatnot. But at any point, like, if we want to chat with Pace, like, well, but we haven't paid the $8,800 entry fee? That's ridiculous. Like you want to get on somebody's radar, like the best thing that you can do, like if you think, hey, I want to be a part of this person's model, what they're running, pay the fee. $8,800 is nothing. Like it's, especially with what we do, like if we do one good deal because we learned something that Pace taught that we could have only found in his paid course, or that, you know, we have access based off of just being in the community, it's paid for itself. Like that's
Well, dude, the best thing for any, I think, coach or mentor is when the student actually does it.
yeah.
That's another thing. I gave value in the construction side, but it actually did what he was teaching.
So flattering too, right? Like it makes you feel like what you're doing is worthwhile and not just for yourself.
Yep.
Like we want to see value. We've got a couple people in our course right now that are actually making decent money transacting. We love that. Like that's so good to us. Like we like to see that. We like to see it make change for them. Cool. So
Awesome. Where can people find you guys?
So Cashflow California is our handle on Instagram, and then on there they'll see links for the Triplex Millionaire, and we can sign up through that, help them out, do the course that way. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.